Welcome to Invest. We talk about investing, finance, and professional development. As the current time of 9:56 a.m. on the Eastern Time on Friday the 13th. Hope you guys have a great week so far and happy Friday. It's a weird day today, huh? With respect to Ethereum, $1,412, about 0.27% so far. On the overall crypto market, I would say as of this morning right now, is relatively, still gliding at the respective, um, you know, technical level that we've identified so far. And with respect to Ethereum, that is approximating at the 1450 mark, which, as we can tell, based on our, I would say, 4 videos so far, we understand that the 1450 is a monumental resistance mark as a prior support level. And what's driving the upward pressure so far is mainly due to a couple of factors, right? With respect to the positive job numbers that came out on past Friday, and it's been just derating for quite some time. And also with respect to just a lack thereof in terms of negative news or news around the repercussions on the FTX debacle that we have heard a couple of weeks ago. It seems like it's kind of simmered down now. And also with respect to just on a technical perspective, we have been crossing up, on a technical perspective again, right? Since the 2nd of January. And we've been crossing up for, I would say across the spectrum, 11 days so far. So the bullish pump that we're seeing is relatively just a technical exercise with lack of negative media affectation supporting the momentum that we've been driving so far. So before we dive into the technical in a more of a specific spectrum, let's just take a look at the news front. Seems like as across the news today is relative red day, in comparisons to yesterday. Seems like today the market is dampened again, mainly due to the fact that seems like on just headline you see that Jamie Dimon, the head of J.P. Morgan, top estimates for the fourth quarter revenue, but says that the mid-recession is now the central case. So obviously, again, read this with a grain of salt. That in the near term, in the first 2 quarters, I understand, and we've been studying this, that on a technical perspective, we should ideally see some choppiness due to multiple factors, right? The lack of uncertainty with respect to the FOMC meeting that's coming up on the last day of this month and the first day of February. How is the efficacy on the rate hikes going? How is the inflationary pressure contained? And also with respect to Q1, the earnings across the spectrum is typically more dampened in comparisons to the rest of the quarters due to the fact that it's winter time, but also internationally, China, which is one of the key drivers of the global economy as well, has basically half of the month of February off due to Lunar New Year. That happens every single year. So that will also be another driver. In addition to that, with respect to the COVID cases that we still kind of lingering. We don't really know, and obviously in China it's a little bit more severe. But domestically in the US, despite we are a little bit more, I guess, adapted now, but there's still cases that's spiking domestically here and there, right? So we don't really know if that's going to unfold further. Also, with respect to the FTX debacle, we understand that it's kind of subsided, and I think SBF is most likely going to be in jail despite or like something is going to happen legally. I don't want to go into the specifics, but something might kind of give a bad taste in the institutional investors mouth, but also there might be potential regulatory constraints that will be performed going forward that can potentially hinder the profitability perspective on crypto assets as a whole. So we have to see how that goes, right? Maybe it's a form of taxation, maybe it's a form of just, I don't know, commission that we have to pay for the government, or much higher, capital gains tax. I don't know how the government are in terms of what tactics they're going to be performing to contain and sustain the regulatory dynamics, which is still relatively up in the air at the moment. And then last but not least is the tax season, right? We know that people are going to be paying tax, and tax is one of the biggest expense however you want to think about it, annually, right? That's one of my biggest expense. It's typically gut wrenching to take a look at the number of how big you have to pay. Uh, I remember last year and the year ago, I had to pay like over $50,000 plus in tax. So you could think about that's damn, that's a car or like a mini house, depending on where you live, or a condo somewhere. Um, but anyways, despite all of that, so let's just take a look at the news front. It seems like obviously with respect to JP Morgan's verbiage, it's definitely dampening, but that seems like also there's some interesting activities going on with the Trump organization, and this has been lingering for quite some time. That and they need to lawyer up to protect themselves. It seems like there's some speculations on criminal tax fraud and conspiracy. We don't know, and it seems like there's also some new activities around other banks, like Wells Fargo shares also fell because of profit cut in half of the high reserves, settlement costs. Seems like there's some interesting activities with respect to the FAA funding due to obviously during the holiday there was a lot of outage with flights, which is just quite crazy. And then some other stuff that we're seeing right now. Um, Interestingly, Tesla cuts price in the U.S. and Europe to stoke sales after lackluster year-end deliveries. I mean, this is it makes a lot of sense why it has been this way, because it's just geopolitical tension, COVID situation. People don't really buy cars during winter time. That's just a matter of fact, right? Um, so let's just dive into. Before we do that, maybe we could take a look at what the whales have been doing, and also what the politicians have been doing. So it seems like as of yesterday, more of a sell day, and you could refer this to our Patreon, which I upload every single day, and you could see that with respect to the ARK Invest side, same thing, sell day relatively. And also on the politician side, let's see what the politicians have been doing in as of the recent time frame. Seems like it's definitely more of a mixed bag. Ever since the beginning of the year, you could see that it's been some buying pressure here and there, right? But it's quite mixed bag. But I think it's definitely more buying pressure, and significantly, you could see that Kathy Manning has bought quite significantly. But with respect to the ticker, it was not disclosed, so that's kind of interesting. And again, this is like just information I get directly. And they, these representatives on the U.S. political front, they have to disclose their trading information. So this is not this is confidential, I guess, to themselves, but like obviously they're public figure, they have to be disclosing so that I'm able to get the information for our observations and due diligence. So let's just take a look at technical now with respect to recording time of 10:04 a.m. on the Eastern time. Again, we are at 14:12. We opened at 14:16. And you can see that clearly on the technical spectrum, we've been very extended. We are getting clearly blocked at the 78 out of 70, oof, almost 80 out of 70, which, as you know, 70 or above is already very overbought. So this is very extended. On the weekly, you could see that very extended as well. You can see that clearly we are 48 out of 70 right now, and this was the prior resistance level. So the likelihood of us keep going up to, let's say, the next level is technically 1660, very low, as we can understand collectively if we've been following this exercise together. But months out, we are expected, some positivity because of the glide that we are seeing. So that's a good sign, right? But again, much later, down months away, as we can tell, right? On Bitcoin side of the equation, we are above the 19,000. Congratulations. I mean, this is a pretty monumental level, but still a lot to prove. We're up 1% right now on the weekly, very extended still. It seems like we did plunge through to the next level of resistance, but right now, we're pretty much up in the air right now, which is not sustainable. So take a look at on the daily. Oof, you can see how extended we are. And right now, we are clearly meeting with, as you can see, the previous resistance level that we've had, which is since October. before the big dump, and the big dump is mainly driven by the FTX debacle, and this is clearly driven by the whales. But would I be buying now? Right, we are at what, 83 out of 70. How extended do you want to be? And with respect to the weekly, is also very extended. So risk is relatively higher than usual. We were suggesting to be buying at the lower level, which we have been, but now I would say I'm suggesting that we hold off and probably sell some, right? That's what I would be doing. And then on the index front, we are at 9395. This is, on a monthly still looks good. Weekly still look very extended. You could see that very separated. On the daily, you could see that very large separation, very risky. And I do think the equity market will see some choppiness as we get closer and closer and closer to the last week of January. With respect to the FOMC meeting on the last day of this month and the first day of February, right? And just take a look at this on a high level. On some of the EV stocks like Tesla is down 4% because of the guidance. Very oversold on the weekly. I would say this is a very good buying opportunity. Daily, we crossed up, so that's why I drove some green pressure previously. But right now, it seems like we might deplete it a little bit. But on the monthly, we are very, looks tolerable. And on the NEO side of the equation, same thing. I would say monthly, very depleted. Weekly, very fused together. It's okay, not the best. Daily looks similarly. So it seems like we might see some, again, choppiness in the near term. And then ideally rebound across the market. And I'm talking about the whole market by Q2, Q3. I think that would make a lot of sense based on the time frame. Okay. So I appreciate you for, I feel like I'm losing my voice for some reason, for joining me this morning. Appreciate you, and thank you for staying in touch with me every single day, and listen to me babbling, and if you find this useful or not. But I really appreciate you if you subscribe to our Patreon recently, and I know that for those that you really study it will find this quite useful. And you could tell that I'm repeating the methodology on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully this, get ingrained into your methodology as well and make it more supplementary and beneficial for you. So I appreciate you. Have a good day and check you guys later. Take care. Bye.